The dining room became very quiet. The only sound you could hear was the soft clinking of spoons and forks touching the plates. It felt like the air had become heavy. My sister Sophie's words stayed in the room like something bad that no one wanted to touch. My 10-year-old son Ethan stopped eating. He had just taken a bite, but now he froze. His fork stayed in his hand and he didn't move at all. "What did you just say?" I asked. I tried very hard to keep my voice calm and not angry. Sophie leaned back in her chair. She slowly moved her glass in her hand like she didn't care at all. She had that small smile on her face that I knew very well. The kind that made me feel uncomfortable. "I'm just saying that being a single parent is not easy," she said. "Ethan seems a little behind, don't you think? Maybe if he had a father in his life, things would be different. He has a mother who loves him very much," I said quickly before she could say more. I reached over and gently held Ethan's shoulder. I wanted him to feel safe. He was looking down at his plate now, not saying anything. His ears had turned red and I knew he was feeling embarrassed. Of course," Sophie said like she didn't really care about what I said. Her husband Daniel spoke next. He didn't even look up from his food while he talked. "But studies show that children who grow up with two parents usually do better in school and with friends." "Daniel is right," my mother said. She wiped her mouth with a napkin and looked serious. "We are just worried about Ethan. He seems so quiet compared to Sophie's children." I looked at my niece and nephew. They were younger than Ethan. They were sitting at the table playing games on their tablets and not even eating properly. I would never allow that, but somehow they were being treated like they were perfect examples. "Ethan is doing just fine," I said in a strong voice. "He gets very good grades in school. He plays the piano beautifully and every weekend. He helps at an animal shelter. He is kind and hardworking." "That's nice, dear," my father said in a voice that sounded like he didn't really care. "But Sophie has a point. The boy needs stability. He needs a proper home and structure. Maybe if you had thought about that before." "Before what, Dad?" I asked. My voice was still calm, but inside I felt something cold and heavy starting to grow. "Before your husband died in that car accident 4 years ago." As soon as he said that, the whole table went completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. It felt like time had stopped for a few seconds. "We're not talking about that," Sophie said quickly. She tried to sound kind, but it didn't feel real. "We are talking about now, about what is best for Ethan. And honestly, living in that small apartment, working long hours at the bank, barely managing to get by." "I am not barely managing," I said looking straight at her. "Really?" Sophie said raising her eyebrow. "Because Mom told me you couldn't afford to send Ethan on a vacation. We just came back from Europe. We stayed there for 3 weeks. The kids loved Barcelona." Ethan slowly pushed his plate away from him. The sound of the plate moving across the table felt very loud in the quiet room. "I'm not hungry," he said softly. "See?" Sophie said pointing at him like he was proving her right. "This is exactly what I mean. His attitude, how sensitive he is. Kids need stability. They need strong examples. I opened my bag and took out a folder. It was a simple brown folder, but it felt very heavy in my hands. I had been carrying it with me for 3 days. Ever since I got the letter from the bank, I kept thinking about whether I should bring it or not. I almost left it in the car, but something told me to bring it. "Do they need it?" I asked, placing the folder on the table. Sophie didn't even look at it properly. "They need to see a stable home, 2 parents, a nice house, financial security." "Hannah," my mother said softly like she was warning me. "Sophie is just trying to help." "Help?" I said smiling a little, but it didn't feel like a real smile. Is that what this is? Don't be so dramatic. Sophie said. We're family. We are allowed to share our concerns. Your house payment is 3 months late, I said quietly as I opened the folder. Sophie stopped moving her glass. Her hand froze in the air. What? She said. Your house payment. I repeated, taking out some papers and sliding them across the table toward her. The one for your big, beautiful house that you always post pictures of. You haven't paid it for 3 months. You now owe $17,462. Daniel's face suddenly turned very pale. How do you even know that? He asked. I work at the bank. I said calmly, I'm not just a teller. I am a regional loan officer. I've been working in that position for 2 years. My father leaned forward, looking upset. Hannah, what are you doing? Let me finish, Dad. I said. My voice was calm, but very firm. Sophie, do you want to tell everyone why your payments are late, or should I explain it? Sophie's hands started shaking. This is private information. You cannot just share it like this. Daniel lost his job 6 months ago. I said, taking out more papers. He didn't tell anyone. Sophie doesn't work because she always says she chose family over a career. Their savings ran out months ago. Since then, they have been living using credit cards. My mother looked shocked. Sophie, is that true? She asked. It's just temporary. Sophie said quickly, but her voice was weak and shaky. Daniel has some interviews coming up. We are just going through a small problem right now. You are about to lose your house. I said, showing another paper. You have about 45 days before the bank takes it. This is cruel, my father said angrily. Telling everyone your sister's private problems like this. Is it more cruel than making fun of my husband who died? I asked softly. Is it more cruel than calling my son a problem in front of everyone? No one said anything after that. For the last 4 years, I have sat here at this table. I continued. I have listened to Sophie talk about her perfect life, her perfect house, and her perfect family. And I have watched Ethan listen to every word. Every time someone says children from single-parent homes are not as good, he hears it and believes it. Hannah. My mother started to say something. I am not finished. I said. I took out another paper from the folder. Do you know who has been helping pay your house loan for the past 3 months? Sophie's eyes became wide with shock. No, she whispered. Me. I said. I have been sending $1,200 every month from my account to your house payment. Why would you do that? Daniel asked, confused. Because you are family. I said simply. Because I didn't want your children to lose their home. Because I hoped that one day you would stop treating me like I am a failure. Ethan was looking at me now. He looked confused, but there was also something else in his eyes. It looked like pride. But I can stop those payments. I said, holding up the last paper. And I already did. I called the bank on Friday. The last payment is being taken back. You can't do that. Sophie said in a small voice. I already did. I said. Now your debt is even bigger and you have to pay it soon or you will lose your house. My father hit the table with his hand. This is mean and unfair. This is me standing up for my son. I said loudly. This is me not letting you make him feel small anymore. I don't need your approval, your advice, or your pity. We were only trying to help, my mother said weakly. No. I said. You were trying to feel better than me. I stood up from my chair and held Ethan's hand, helping him stand, too. Sophie's face turned red with anger. You are really going to let us lose our house because of a few comments? A few comments? I said, almost laughing. But there was no happiness in it. For 4 years, You have made my son feel like he is not good enough. Like he is broken just because he doesn't have a father. My voice started shaking a little. Last month, Ethan asked me if it was his fault that his father died. He thought maybe he had done something wrong. My mother covered her mouth in shock. You called us a half-family at Easter, I said, looking at Sophie. Ethan remembered that. I didn't mean it, Sophie said quickly. Yes, you did, I said. You meant every word. I picked up my bag and looked at all of them. You always talked about my small apartment, my long work hours, and my life like it was something bad, I said. But here is the truth. I own my apartment. I paid for it fully. I don't have any loan on it. And those long hours I work, I am the youngest regional loan officer at my bank. I earn a very good salary. Then why don't you buy a bigger house? Daniel asked. Because I want Ethan to grow up humble, I said. I want him to understand the value of hard work. I want him to be kind, thankful, and caring. I don't want him to think that money or a big house makes someone better than others. I looked around the table one last time. And I am done letting you think that my kindness means I am weak. I looked at my father and took a deep breath. Dad, I said softly but clearly. Before you say anything else about what Ethan needs, there is something very important you should know. Everyone at the table became quiet and looked at me. Ethan has been accepted into a special fast learning program at Edison Academy, I said. He got a full scholarship because of his amazing schoolwork and the essay he wrote. He wrote about losing his dad and how he stayed strong. He will start in January. My father opened his mouth like he wanted to speak, but no words came out. The same boy you are worried about, I continued, is the one who wrote something so powerful that it made 3 teachers cry. He wrote about his father, about feeling sad, about finding strength, and about having a mom who works hard and loves him very much. He wrote that family is not about being perfect. It is about showing up and caring for each other. Ethan gently squeezed my hand and I squeezed his back. You all want to know what Ethan really needs? I asked, looking around the table. He needs people who can see how special he is. He needs people who cheer for him and notice his strengths, not people who only talk about what he is missing. He needs people who understand that having one loving parent is better than having 2 parents who only care about looking perfect and don't really care about their child. I looked at Sophie. She was crying now and her makeup was running down her face. For just a moment, I felt a little sorry for her. But then I remembered Ethan earlier quietly pushing his food away and saying he wasn't hungry. That memory made my heart hurt and the small feeling of pity disappeared. You have 45 days, I said calmly. Everyone looked surprised. Maybe Daniel can find a job at that time. Maybe you can sell some of your things. Maybe your perfect friends with their perfect lives can help you. But I will not help you anymore. Not now. Not ever again. Hannah, please, my mother said, reaching out her hand toward me. You can't just leave things like this, my father said quietly. But when I looked at him, his face was different. He wasn't angry. He looked at me in a way I had never seen before. Maybe, just maybe, there was a little respect in his eyes. I have been letting things go for 4 years, Dad, I said. I stayed quiet when you said hurtful things. I ignored your looks and your judgment. I let every mean comment pass. I even let Ethan feel your disappointment in me, your pity and your unkind thoughts. I paused for a moment and took another breath. But tonight, I said, when my own sister looked at my son and called him a mess, I finally understood something. I was letting go of the wrong things. I should have been protecting my son. I should have stood up sooner. I should have stopped coming here the very first time Sophie made Ethan feel small. I stood up straight. So yes, Dad, I said firmly, I am letting it go. But not in the way you think. I am letting go of your opinions about me. I am letting go of needing your approval. I am letting go of the guilt I have carried for years for not being the person you wanted me to be. I took out my phone and opened my banking app. Then I turned the screen towards Sophie. Look at this, I said. This is my savings account. I have $230,000 saved. Everyone looked shocked. I could pay off your house tomorrow, I said, and it would not even hurt me. But I am not going to do that because my son is watching me and I need him to learn something important. You do not reward people who are cruel. You do not help bullies, even if they are part of your family. We are not bullies, Sophie cried loudly. You are worse, I said calmly. You think you are helping, but you are actually hurting people. That makes it even more dangerous. I looked around the table one last time. My parents were sitting still, not moving. Daniel was staring down at his plate. Sophie was crying into her napkin. The children finally looked up from their tablets, confused about what was happening. Ethan and I will not be coming to Sunday dinners anymore, I said. Maybe one day, if you learn how to treat people kindly and with respect, we can try again. But not now. I turned and started walking toward the door, holding Ethan's hand tightly. Hannah, my mother called out behind me. You are making a mistake. I stopped and turned back one last time. No, Mom, I said gently but firmly, the mistake was letting this go on for so long. The mistake was believing that being family means accepting bad treatment. The mistake was teaching my son that love means staying quiet while people hurt you. But we are family, she said in a soft, shaky voice. Family should lift you up, I replied, not push you down just to feel better about themselves. Then I turned again and walked out. When we got to the car, Ethan looked up at me. Mom, he said. Yes, buddy? That was really cool. I laughed and it felt like something heavy inside my chest finally broke and disappeared. You think so? I asked. Yeah, he said with a small smile. You stood up for us. Then he paused for a second. But Mom, were you really paying Aunt Sophie's house money? Yes, I said as I unlocked the car and we both got inside. Why? He asked. I started the car and thought for a moment before answering. Because I hoped that if I helped her, she would be nicer to me, I said. I wanted her to see that I am not a failure. I thought maybe she would change, but she didn't. No, Ethan said quietly. She didn't. I nodded. Sometimes, I said, people need to feel better than someone else to feel happy. And I let myself be that person for too long. Are they really going to lose their house? He asked. I thought about it as I drove. Probably not, I said. Your grandfather will help them. He always does. Then why did you tell them all that? Ethan asked. Because they needed to hear the truth, I said. And you needed to see the truth, too. We are doing okay. Actually, we are doing better than okay. Ethan was quiet for a moment. I never thought I was a mess, he said. My heart felt tight hearing that. You are not, I said quickly. You are perfect just the way you are. I know, he said simply. I was just sad because Aunt Sophie said it, but I didn't believe her. I looked at him and smiled softly. When did you become so wise? I asked. He shrugged his shoulders. I learned from you, he said. We drove home in silence, but it was a peaceful silence. My phone kept buzzing again and again. Messages from my mother, my father, even Sophie. But I didn't look at them. When we reached home, Ethan spoke again. Mom? Yes. Can we order pizza and watch a movie? I smiled. Of course we can. And Mom, he added, I like that it's just us. Me, too, buddy, I said. Me, too. As we walked into our small apartment, I felt something new inside me. I realized something very important. For 4 years, I had been trying so hard to prove that I was good enough. I wanted everyone to see my worth. But the truth was simple. I had always been good enough. The papers in my bag held many secrets and problems I had learned about. But the biggest lesson was not about money or houses or jobs. It was something much simpler. Some fights are not worth fighting, but some fights are very important. Fighting for your child's happiness, their confidence, and their understanding that they are loved no matter what. Those fights are worth everything. I had been holding on to too much pain and anger for too long. Now I was finally letting go. Not the anger about how they treated us because that was real and fair. But I was letting go of the need for their approval. I was letting go of wanting them to accept me. Ethan and I had enough. We had always had enough. And anyone who could not see that did not deserve a place in our lives or at our table.